Work it, make it, do it, make sense.
I seem to got the lunchtime slot. I will warn you there is audience participation in this, and I will wait till you've just put a forkful of food in your mouth to ask. So be ready for that. You're here to learn about you shouldn't believe everything that you learn, because there are a lot of things that we believe are true, and they're not. This is a light-hearted talk. It's inspired by the falsehoods programmers believe about X series of posts. These exist for time, names, maps, networks, addresses, all kinds of things. I'm Michael. I've made a lot of mistakes in the past. I've done everything from being a developer to a sysadmin, developer advocate. And whilst everything here won't be applicable to your day-to-day job, hopefully it will make you think. Because there are a lot of assumptions that we make in our day-to-day life that just aren't true. Now we all have 15 minutes, so we're going to race through some of these. I'm going to start with everyone's favourite, time. Let's start with an easy one. The number of days in every month starts with a 3, so 30 or 31. True or false? What's the exception? February, 28. Good. But each month has the same number of days in it every year, right? False. What's the exception? February, 29. You are awake. This is good. But we can calculate that every 4 years. That always holds, right? False. You are not my target audience. Go on, why? Why is this false?
Once in, I think, like 5 years, 20 years, 35 years, something like that.
It's a leap year, unless it's divisible by 100 and not 400. But surely that rule holds true all of the time, right? No? No one saw that coming, did they? This holds unless you're Sweden. Because Sweden changed from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar in 1700. But instead of just skipping the 11 days like everyone else, they decided they were going to do it over a period of 40 years by just skipping leap years. They were just going to skip 10 leap years. And that would give them, 11 leap years. And that would give them the 11 days that they needed. That meant that for 40 years, the Swedish calendar would be out of step with both the Gregorian and the Julian calendar. But we've agreed. It will always be 28 or 29. It will happen at some point, sometimes not if you're Sweden, but 28 or 29 days in February. We can never have the 30th. Yeah? Unless you're Sweden. Because King Charles XII of Sweden decided that the system of skipping leap years wasn't really working. But instead of going to the Gregorian calendar, he went back to the Julian one. I don't know why. But to do this, they added an extra date in February in 1712. So, 1712, the 30th of February, existed in Sweden. And if you think this is an isolated incident, it also happened in the Soviet Union in 1930 and 1931, where they wanted to change their weeks to have 5 days, and they wanted every month to have 30 days. That's not that long ago, 1930. But only small companies get affected by things like leap years where they forget that it happens, right? I mean, companies the size of, say, Microsoft, their entire Azure cloud going down, definitely not going to happen, but it did. Back in 2012, Azure's Active Directory went down because of a leap year bug. Time always goes forwards, excluding daylight savings time. People always shout that one out. True or false? Yes, unless you're in Shanghai in 1927. It went back 5 minutes and 52 seconds. This time actually happened twice in Shanghai that year. How about the fact that a month starts and ends in the same year? Always. Yeah, it feels like you should say yes, doesn't it? Unless you're an ancient Roman. Because in ancient Rome, the year started when the consul took office. And between 222 BC and 153 BC, that was the 15th of March. So the Roman year started in the middle of March. The 14th was one year, the 16th was another. But we're not ancient Romans, like we're living in the year 2017. But if you're living in Ethiopia, they have their own calendar. The Ethiopian year for the years 1900 to 2099 inclusive. The 1st of Mascaram, the first day of their year, is actually the 11th of September. Today, in Ethiopia, a month starts in one year and ends in another. Most of those examples are from the 1700s, ancient Rome. What about today? We're programmers. Our world started on the 1st of January 1970. The offsets between two time zones will remain constant. True or false? False. There were 10 changes last year, 10, and there have already been 2 changes this year. And if you think it's just small countries thinking, hey, I want easier trade relations, the United States changed their DST times in 2005. 2005. The United States is not a small country. If they do change them, there'll be plenty of notice. Except that North Korea gave 8 days' notice of a 30-minute time zone change in 2015. And if we're including DST changes, Haiti gave a whopping 1 day's notice that it was cancelling DST. 1 day. Imagine being the developer that got that phone call saying, our systems have to change now. But it's okay because we can make some assumptions with time zones, like they're always plus or minus an integer number of hours. I see you shaking your head. What's the minimum? 15 minutes. Afghanistan is 4.5 hours ahead, North Korea is 8.5 hours ahead, and the Chatham Islands in New Zealand are 12 hours and 45 minutes ahead. So 15 minutes is safe, is it? How confident are you? Today, you can be confident. It is 15 minutes today. But from 1880 to 1912, Dublin had its own time zone called Dublin Mean Time. And Dublin Mean Time was 25 minutes and 21 seconds before GMT. Only the Irish. Audience participation time. You've been pretty good so far, but I'm really going to ask you now. When are there more or less than 24 hours in a day? Shout it loud. Yes, daylight savings time. A day will be 23 or 25 hours. Is the time 23, 59, 60 invalid? Why not? Leap seconds. Yes. Leap seconds, a minute will be 61 seconds long. The day before Saturday is always Friday. True or false? I hope you're getting the feeling that most of these aren't true right now. But I'll tell you why. Samoa. Anyone been to Samoa? Well, in 2011, on the 29th of November, they decided that they would jump over the international date line. So they went to bed on Thursday and woke up on Saturday. Not Friday. Addresses. Not as much fun as time, but still pretty interesting. If there is a building number, it will always be numeric. No, it won't. 1A. No buildings are numbered 0. If you go a couple of doors down from 1A, you actually get to number 0 Egmont Road in Middlesbrough. But at least zeros aren't important if it's not number 0. You can omit the leading zeros on normal numbers. Unless you go to an apartment in Alma Street, Palo Alto, where apartments 1 and 001 are in the same building but on different floors. A street name won't include a number? Nope. You can live at number 8, 7 Gardens Borough. And this is just a UK example. In the Netherlands, they actually have streets which are numbers. But at the very least, come on, you wouldn't name a town street, would you? We would. There is a town called Street in Somerset in the UK. You can't have 2 cities with the same name in the same country? True? False? False. The UK has 3 called Newport. And in all of them, you can go to number 10 High Street. This has been great fun since the advent of sat-navs. People put in number 10 High Street, Newport, and they go for one hell of a drive. But you don't get multiple postcodes per building, right? A postcode is an area. You do. If you go to the DVLA in Swansea, I mean, it's huge, but their postcodes actually direct mail to the right department. V5Cs or SA99 1BA, driving licenses at SA99 1AB, so on. Street names will be reasonably short. We design a database where we say 50 characters for the street name. That's got to be enough for anyone, right? Unless you go to Bosnia. And this is an 89-character street name. Bosnia, lovely place, highly recommend it. But they make our life difficult. I like this one. Addresses, fixed point in space, true or false? False. Why?
False.
Yes, no one's got that before. Well done. BF1 4FB is the postal address of the HMS Example. But surely concrete buildings don't move. They have a fixed point in space. And we're excluding earthquakes and centimetres and things like that. Here in the UK, we have moved buildings. There is a lighthouse in Sussex that we moved 17 metres in 1999 because of coastal erosion. It was going to fall into the sea. So we lifted it up whole and moved it. That one was about 800 tonnes, I think. It's not light. But in Zurich moved a 6,200-tonne building, fully constructed. They moved it 60 metres so that they could lay some railway lines. Back to you again. Do all countries have a capital city? No, they do not. Switzerland does not. The government is based in Bern, but that is not the capital of Switzerland. 4 minutes left. Let's fly. Names. A child will have the same surname as either their mother or their father. True or false? False. Example, Iceland. You don't take a surname. You are the son or the daughter of your father. I had a daughter called Freya. She would be Freya Michaeldottir. People have at least 2 names. Shaking head. False. Taylor, of Penn and Teller fame, holds a US-issued passport with just the name Taylor in it. And Akihito, the Emperor of Japan. In Japan, it's commonly thought that the state gives you your surname. And as the Emperor of Japan, there is no state to give your family a name, so he's just known as Akihito. But most names don't contain numbers, right? We've got John Five, fantastic guitarist, but that's a stage name. How about Caitlin? You're laughing. Do you think this is true or this is false? It's false. No one named the daughter Caitlin with an 8. It was even worse. They thought the 8 was too much, so they changed it to the Roman numeral. Actually happened. For every rule you come up with, there are guaranteed to be hundreds of exceptions. No spaces, only letters, 1 capital letter. The only valid regex for a name is .star. Audience participation. A name must contain 1 or more alphanumeric characters. True or false? False. Example. Okay, I should have said Unicode there. Yeah. Okay, 1 or more Unicode characters. The artist formerly known as Prince. Give that man a cookie. But I can safely assume that this dictionary of bad words contains no names in it. I mean, have you ever been to Middlesex? Or eaten shiitake mushrooms? Perhaps you were called Craig Cockburn and couldn't register your name at hotmail.com back in 2004. Or maybe you were Linda Callahan and couldn't register with Yahoo in 2006. Or maybe the less obvious ones. Marketing for the Super Bowl 30 was horrible. And even planning permission emails started bouncing because he was talking about erecting a structure, and the council's whitelist was rejecting that. Nothing is safe. And then there's the sad story of Christopher Null. He's a technology journalist, and he's currently fighting the Bank of America because his email address is null@nullmedia.com, and they just won't accept it. Final section. Commerce. A product has a price, true or false? This includes zero. It's not a trick question. False. A product sold at auction only has a price when it's sold, and at that point, it's no longer available. Currency symbols uniquely identify a currency. True or false? False. The dollar sign is used in the US, Canada, Australia, Brunei, Namibia. Currencies have a Unicode symbol that represents them. The Swiss franc does not. Which currency doesn't have a three-letter identifier like USD, GBP? The Canadian dollar. So just stick a dollar on the end because we say it must be three letters in our systems. But it is actually just CA with a dollar. Which brings us on to computers. We're all here because we're developers or we work in tech. We're lucky. We don't have to worry about time or names or currency. Those are business decisions. We just have to worry about bits and bytes on our computers. And that's easy, because the network is reliable. Latency is zero. Bandwidth is infinite. The network is secure. Topology doesn't change. There is one administrator. Transport cost is zero, and the network is homogeneous. Who am I kidding? None of this is true. I mean, we can't even validate an email address. With that, computers are hard. Humans make assumptions, and things are never as simple as they seem. Ask questions, find out more. It will make your life easier in the long run. 1 minute over time, but I've been Michael. You can find me at mheap, and hopefully this will just make you think a little bit more when you're starting to design systems. Cheers.